Vegan cyclist. All right, let's go through the last 4 stages of the tour and my overall thoughts of the entire thing. Let's put this series to rest because I really want to get on to some other cool videos. Stage 18 is the last climbing stage. It's a hilltop finish, so you are expecting to see some fireworks between the top GC guys. You ended up getting a huge breakaway in the very beginning, and that was a little bit exciting. There was Atapuma, that was for National Colombian Day. He was trying to go for the win, almost got it. Was pretty exciting to see that come down to the line. But in the main pack, what was really the focus was you've got AG2R going to the front and really driving the pace, trying to put Team Sky under pressure. They did end up dropping a couple of Team Sky lieutenants out of the group, but eventually Team AG2R ran out of guys, and then Michael Kwiatkowski, he went to the front, drilled it, was going so deep that he like throws his sunglasses off. The crowd, whoever's standing right there, just gets themselves a brand new set of Oakleys. And then he goes so hard that when he's done, he just pulls off and stops. Literally puts his foot down and is like, I'm dead. Then you have Froome let Mikel Landa go up the road. Now the thing is that Mikel Landa was positioned so well in the GC that Bardet and Uran needed to watch that. I mean, that was a legit threat to them, especially if, you know, no one was going to pull him back. He could have even gone into the yellow jersey. Like, it was tentative. Dan Martin made some attacks, Bardet made some attacks, and then Chris Froome makes a huge attack, drops everyone, gets over to this little like riser, goes down, and the whole plan was that he was going to catch Mikel Landa and Landa was going to help him. He wasn't able to stick that. Bardet and Uran pulled him back, and then it was basically Mikel Landa, Froome, Uran, Bardet, with Barguil, who had attacked way earlier. He had attacked, chased down all the break, got to Atapuma, passed Atapuma, and Barguil wins the stage. Atapuma stays in second. Bardet makes a last little attack. They kind of come across the finish, so it was Barguil, Atapuma, Bardet at the finish line. It was kind of boring, honestly. I was hoping that Froome was going to have more, do more. Stage 19 is kind of the last stage for the sprinters. It was a little bit of some climbs in the beginning, but basically you ended up having a massive breakaway. And it was kind of exciting at maybe the last like 20K because the breakaway started to break and split. Guys were hammering the front of that breakaway. So the breakaway splits, and it was crazy because it was like, it split and then they came almost back together. I mean, it was right there within like 2 bike lengths, and then it completely blew out. So then you have the front half of that break going off. Bosenhagen rode super smart, was like attacking but not going too hard, following the right moves, letting other guys work when he, you know, shouldn't have worked. It just worked out so well for Bosenhagen. And then Nicky Ant and Bosenhagen take the right side of the traffic circle, like right at the last minute. And it was super crazy because the right side was a little bit shorter. So then Nicky Ant just is pinning it, goes super hard, gets a gap, flicks his elbow for Bosenhagen to go around, and Bosenhagen's just like, psych bro, and just drills it. And Nicky Ant cannot hold his wheel and falls off Bosenhagen's wheel, and Bosenhagen just solos it all the way to the finish. Nicky Ant holds on to second, which has got to just be so devastating because it's like, how did I get ridden out of this guy's wheel? If I just stayed on his wheel, we could have come down to a sprint. Or if Bosenhagen wasn't here, Nicky Ant is the one that created that move. You know what I mean? He went to the right, he put down the effort, and Bosenhagen just, dude, played him like a fiddle. So Bosenhagen gets his win because, man, if you come out of the Tour de France with losing by the smallest margin in history, that's gonna haunt your dreams. So Bosenhagen for sure, like, dude, that was the whole race was really well played by Bosenhagen. So it was good to see him get the W. Stage 20 is the time trial, which is the last time that you're gonna be able to see anyone make up any time in the GC, right? So you have Froome and Uran and Bardet and Mikel Landa, Dan Martin, Aru, all trying to put down really good times. In the time trial, if you're in first place in GC, you get to go last, which is really beneficial because then Froome gets to hear in the radio what everyone else's time splits are. And so he's able to know if he's up or down, whereas the other guys, I mean, obviously you just want to go as hard as you can in the time trial, like duh, but you know, this was kind of a tricky course. There were some really tight turns, and so you're gonna have to take some risks. but Froome can mitigate those risks by knowing how hard he needs to push. Michael K ends up getting a blazing fast time and was in the hot seat for a while until Bodner from Haagensgrove, he took it, man. He got just put down a blazing time trial, but Michael K, he, I mean, I don't know him as a time trialist, and he put down such a blazing time, so that was really exciting. But for stage 20, the talking points, or the most exciting thing, was that Mikel Landa puts down a decent time. I think it was like a 15th place time. He's so well positioned in GC that Bardet needed to just not have a horrible time trial, and he was. He was all over the place, taking all these risks, and so not really taking like great lines. Really just looked like he was fighting the bike the whole time. Mikel Landa, he finishes in front of Bardet, so they have the time. Bardet has to finish in, say, like 30:19, I think it was, or like 31:19, whatever that was. You knew the time he had to finish in. So you just see him like digging so deep, and he comes into the finish line, and it's 1 second. Bardet keeps third place by 1 second, which is insane. And I can't imagine how bummed would you be to lose the podium by 1 second. Either way, right? Sky going to the podium or Bardet coming out of the podium, probably be worse for Bardet since this whole team puts all this emphasis on him, and Mikel Landa just be like extra bonus for Sky. But came down to 1 second. Final real stage of the tour, and the third spot in the overall comes down to 1 second. You can imagine all of the time throughout the whole tour, all these little spots that 1 second would have made a difference. That's so crazy to have it come down to 1 second. So that was kind of the biggest talking point. Uran almost loses it in the last turn, but he was, you know, kind of in no man's land, if you will, time-wise, like well above Bardet, but well behind Froome. Froome just rolls it in to snag it. He probably could have gone better. He probably could have done a better time, but just, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna risk it. When you're getting the time checks and you're so well placed, you know what I mean? Don't risk it. All right, stage 21, the last stage, which is basically sort of just like they already have done in the end of stage 20, they do the announcements, like, you know, polka dot jersey, green jersey, yellow jersey, like they kind of do that celebration. And so stage 21 is basically, we ride around for a little while, and then we do a small little race around, you know, the Champs-Élysées. And so you're not gonna have any GC battles here. You're basically got the sprinters, but Froome does need to stay upright. Can't get a mechanical, that sort of thing. So Team Sky keeping him to the front. There was a breakaway, it got caught pretty early. It just kind of, there was a little bit of moves here and there. Comes down to a sprint. Greipel was positioned pretty well coming in kind of to the last turn, but got shuffled around a little bit and was way too far back, and Dylan Groenewegen, he basically let everyone out, but was just so strong that he rode Christoph off his wheel and into the wind, took it, and he finishes, and he's just like, seriously, did that just happen? Which is so cool, right? Just like, I would do that if I won anything. Whatever race, I'd be like, what? And so Bosenhagen was right there. Greipel was coming. He was the fastest man there, but it's not always what it's about, right? It's about position. And so Greipel is super bummed because he's won, you know, that last stage a couple times. And so yeah, you've got Dylan snagging the win, which ends the Tour de France. So let's talk about the overall winners and losers of the entire tour. Winner, Sunweb. The team gets the green jersey, gets the polka dot jersey. They were talked about a lot during the whole tour. So I mean, as a company bringing, you know, your sponsors to here and with aspirations to do well, you get 4 stage wins, 2 from Michael Matthews, 2 from Barguil, almost 3 from Barguil, right? Like when he almost snagged that from Uran. So when you're taking home 2 jerseys and 4 stage wins, other than Team Sky, I guess, because they won the entire thing, but as of any other team, that's the most successful team in the tour for sure. So big win to Sunweb. Winner, Uran, Drakpak, Cannondale. You know, Uran came from Team Sky, was as a great support rider, and had all this hype that he was gonna do really well, and hadn't really lived up to that, But this tour showed, I don't know, man, if he worked on his TT a little bit, he really could be a contender. I think that he is super consistent. He's sort of like the Ryan Dungey of cycling. Like, he's just always so consistent, just is always there. Like, he wasn't making really any dust, wasn't stirring up the pack, wasn't doing anything amazing, just was always there. You know, to have Cannondale Drag Pack, which really hasn't, that team hasn't had much to write home about on anything, to be able to get their guy in second and was so, dude, if Froome had one little issue on that time trial, you might see Uran in the yellow. So he kept it interesting, he kept it good, and I'm excited to see his future for sure. Obviously winner, Froome, you know what I mean? 4th title, wins the jersey, wins the overall. But the thing is, like, I'm a Froome fanboy for sure, but the way he won sort of makes me feel like there could be some changes to the overall format of the Tour de France to make things a little more exciting. He didn't win any stages. 0 stages won by Chris Froome, and he wins the overall. I understand that that's possible, but me as a racer, as a fan, I don't like that. I don't like that he can win nothing and win it all, if that makes sense. So I kind of feel that the winner of this stage should get a very exponential bonus. You know what I mean? So I know they do time bonuses like 10, 6, and 4 or something like that, or 10, 6, and 3, whatever the time bonus is. I feel like the winner should get 25 seconds. Something really substantial. Something where if you win the stages, you really could put a dent in it. Because when it comes down to these like hilltop finishes, all you're really fighting for is just no gaps between you and that other person. So Froome can ride super defensively because he knows that his time trial is blistering. You know what I mean? That basically everyone has to be way ahead of him before the final time trial, you know? All right, let's talk about the 3 biggest losers of this tour. Losers, sprinters. Most of the sprinters are gone. Kittel didn't make it. Demar didn't make it. Cavendish doesn't make it. Sagan doesn't make it. Who's the other one? Renshaw doesn't make it. I totally, like, time cuts. I like that that's a thing. It's just a bummer that a lot of these sprinters, a lot of these teams come to the tour for their sprinters, and that's their main ambition. Now, Dimension Data loses Cavendish, but Bosenhagen really pulls up the slack for sure on that. But with Demar gone, I mean, their team just kind of rode around, didn't really do a lot. I mean, big loss to a lot of those guys. Greipel doesn't really get anything. You know, so when you're saying like the top 5 or top 3 sprinters, you know, I know Kittel dominated, but it's sort of like you almost forget about him once he's gone, once he's not in the tour. He didn't finish the tour, so, you know, I don't know, it's kind of a bummer. Loser, the all-French jury, Sagan and De Gendt thing. So there's a jury that takes, I guess, the decisions, and then they jury on them, and they're the ones that booted Sagan, which I don't care if you're on the Team Sagan or not Team Sagan. I'm pretty sure that 99% of everyone would say that that decision was way too harsh. No matter if you think it was his fault or not, a complete DQ, bro. The tour's never gonna be able to get out of that cloud. Everyone's gonna be talking about it for a long time. And then to say that the overall combative award, so the most combative rider in the entire Tour de France, the popular vote goes to Thomas De Gendt because he was in the breakaway something like 1,000 kilometers. I mean, over a quarter of the race, De Gendt is off the front. So popular vote goes to him. The jury gives it to Barguil, which already has a polka dot jersey and 2 stage wins. So everyone's super bummed about that and kind of questioning how fair is this jury, right? Like how moral is this jury? I mean, like who's on this jury? Like, it just seems very weird. The decisions they're making seems like they are not a fan, or they're not representing the people. Now, with that being said, I kind of see that Barguil could get it because Barguil was on the attack and on the offensive on the main GC contenders, attacking Froome and Aru and Martin and Uran. Barguil wasn't a ton of breaks, and so to me it sort of comes down to quality versus quantity. Like, yeah, Thomas De Gendt was off the front quantity wise, always in the break, always pushing, always, like every stage you're hearing his name. I get it. But he was never really threatening the main players of the race. He was never really threatening for a stage win. He was He was just always off the front. And Bargill is attacking the main guys. Like, he wins stages. He's on the front of the main spear. So I don't know. Again, I think that Bargill's quality of aggressiveness was better. All right, and last loser of the tour, I would say, is, I guess, predictability, right? In the first week, there was all this like hype and you know, and people looking at like what's gonna happen, and oh, Aru and Quintana and all these players are there, and then just by the final, and I know that obviously it's like, yeah, stage 20, you kind of go, right, of course that was gonna happen. Of course no one was gonna beat Froome in the time trial, and of course that it was just gonna be always very close. You know, I felt a little deflated after the tour was over. But all Froome had to do was just stay relatively not dropped, just get to the time trial without being 2 minutes down, and you're gonna win. So at the very end, it just sort of felt, again, very predictable, very like, of course that was gonna happen. There wasn't any huge shakeups. A lot of people were on the team Aru. Again, very predictable that he was gonna pretty much crack towards the end of the race. I mean, Uran wasn't predictable, I guess, but he was, I think, on everyone's top list going in. So how to fix the predictability type thing? Maybe smaller teams, right? Doing a team of 5 or 6 so that you don't have Team Sky with freaking 5 guys in the final group, right? So on some of these climbs, you've got all the big hitters, 1-1-1-1, like Bardet and Uran and Aru and Martin, and then all of Team Sky. And it always seems to happen is that Sky brings these riders up, they do phenomenal, then they kind of go to other teams to try to find their success, like Richie Porte and Uran. So maybe in the next couple years, Team Sky will be out of like these heavy hitters because they'll all go to the other teams. So maybe that. But again, smaller teams, bigger win bonuses for wins, like putting more emphasis on winning a race. So to me, the whole tour sort of feels like you're looking at the entire thing. And I would rather almost each individual stage have a little more emphasis on those results. No power meters has been always suggested that might help. No radios, I think that would, I mean, there are races that do that, would do no radios. And I kind of feel like a no radio would make it more exciting, especially in the time trial, because you don't know, you wouldn't know your time gaps. And Froome could pace solely based on his time gaps being radioed into him. So I don't know. Anyway, guys, man, I hope you enjoyed the series. I've put a lot of work, a lot of hours into this series, so I hope that you appreciate it. But it's time to move on to some other better videos, better content, and as always, Vegan Cyclist. Yeah!